Welcome everyone. My name is Pierrick Delez. I'll be the moderator today for this very interesting topic about freight document processing. Before I welcome our expert Peter Ortmans, let's do some housekeeping. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So you can use the tab on the right-hand side of your screen to ask your questions. And also, no need to take any screenshots. The PowerPoint and the recording of the webinar will be available on iriscorporate.com after the webinar. So without further ado, I'm happy to give the screen to Peter.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pierrick, and welcome also from my side. Good morning, I should say, to the ones joining us from the US or maybe Brazil. And good evening or good night, I should say, to people joining us maybe from Singapore, Australia, or the Philippines. And in total, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. Well, you will learn in this webinar details about the challenges of document processing in the international trade business and freight shipment. Based upon a live software demo, you will understand how this IDP, Intelligent Document Processing, supports the freight operations, and thus you will gain some insights on how IDP sets the scene for process and quality improvement, process transparency, etc. So why a freight forwarder should consider to sail the digital wave by the automating of their document processing. That's indeed the key point for today. Yeah, in general, we need to see that this question, why, by the means of process automation. And in general, we speak about the elimination of inefficiencies in processing, lack of data accessibility, long cycle times, maybe even difficulties keeping the SLAs, disgruntled peers like suppliers, customers, colleagues, etc. The lack of accuracy in the manual processing and high costs with manual processing. The better the operations work inside an organization, the more reliable, the more flexible and scalable a company can serve their customers. Yeah, so what is the challenge of process automation in the international trade business? And the answer, maybe exists of two words. It is 12 billion. 12 billion, this is the number, at least the minimum estimated number of documents that are exchanged year by year in the transportation industry. Well, not in the entire transportation industry, 12 billion documents alone in the ocean freight. To be honest, nobody exactly knows the total number in the entire business on a global level. Manually keying data from these documents is a costly and time-consuming job, and it results too often in false outputs for further processing. This leads to delays that even might result in penalties. It binds resources that could be freed to scale the operations. So accuracy, time, and costs are the key drivers for automation. However, the huge volume of documents also indicates that we speak about big data and the accessibility of this big data, which is scattered around in lots of different document types. We can recognize a sheer universe of different documents that comes in a variety of formats: structured, semi-structured, and unstructured document types or classes, such as the packing list, the bill of lading, the commercial invoice, an air or seaway bill, and all the other classes that we can see here. And those classes, they establish a case that needs to be managed. Thus, a reasonable, intelligent document processing solution requires to be able to deal with cases and not only with single documents. Having this said, the first requirement apparently is to classify the incoming document stream. And this means, in the very first step, to separate a batch of documents, so chopping perhaps even one file that is provided into all the single files, all the single documents that are included in this one, maybe PDF file. And then to recognize the class of each document that we have there, and finally to check whether the case is complete for further processing. And this step can be fulfilled by intelligent document classification software that is powered by machine learning. We speak about document understanding technologies. So how do they usually work? You see here 3 documents representing 3 of the cases: a seaway bill, a packing list, and an invoice. After scanning these documents or having received them by email or via a portal upload, they are sent to Iris Extract for Documents. And Extract firstly creates the free text. The free text is the textual content of a document. It is created by the inherent optical character recognition engine, the so-called well-known OCR engines. Well, and secondly, the software then analyzes the textual content. So the results of the OCR engine are taken and analyzed. Yeah. And here is exactly where the magic is happening. The intelligent document recognition engine, the IDR engine, classifies the document. The software identifies features of each document that define a class in particular. Well, to keep it simple, the features are here just illustrated by corresponding colors between the markups on the document and the name of the class. Well, such features mean that the software is looking for statistically significant content that describe a certain class. Actually, it is more than this, but this is just to keep things simple for you. The class of a document at the end of the day has been identified by its unique content. To know the statistical description of a class, the software, of course, has to be trained. Well, and this training is called machine learning. It is based upon feeding the software upfront with samples that represent a certain class. And from these samples, the software learns the features that describe a class. Machine learning is so advanced in the meantime that usually the confidence level is high enough for automated black box processing of the vast majority of the documents. In other cases, of course, we have the option to have a human in the loop. Well, let's summarize that a bit. A software that shall comply to such requirements, well, needs to show up with an optical character recognition engine, and this OCR engine needs to be able to cover an adequate number of languages. We are speaking about an international business. And yeah, it needs an intelligent document recognition engine that can do the automated document separation if necessary, that is based upon machine learning for classification. And we will look at this next, that shows up with an adaptive freeform text analysis, which works independent from the layout of a document. Once we know the class of a document, we can start to look out for class-specific data that needs to be recognized in order to feed the subsequent business processes. The software needs to be intelligent enough to capture, validate, consolidate, and normalize the required data. So what data is sent within this universe of freight documents? You can see here, just as an example, a commercial invoice. We will look at some selected data fields that could be recognized. Which data field needs to be recognized depends on the special requirements of the customer and his TMS or ERP system. Again, we need the free text that already has been created in the foregoing step. And then the intelligent document recognition engine will extract the relevant data from the result of the OCR engine. Hence, IDR can do much more than just classification. It also is used for data extraction by delivering normalized structured data. Normalized data means that the the format matches the requirements of the subsequent TMS or ERP, or let's say in general business software, where this data is exported to. So that might be different as how it is given on the original document. The software is configured to identify data by generic rules. By doing so, we adapt different kinds of rule sets. Yeah, and for example, we are using databases. And these databases can be external sources, so from other software systems that hold data that should be found, identified, and validated on the given documents. Or it can even be case intrinsic data, where data from one document needs to match data from another document in that case. It can be just a simple date search algorithm. It can be a key value search, what means that we have a pair of words, of which one, the key, indicates the data, and the data itself, the value, is the other one. Yeah, it can be alphanumeric strings that fulfill regular expressions. It can be figures that fulfill equations, for example, in line items or in invoice footers. It can be table structures and documents, or indeed any combination of the mentioned methods. This approach guarantees that it doesn't matter where the data is mentioned on the document in a particular case. The software will recognize the data, extract it from the document, and convert it into structured information independent from the position of the data on the document. Even more, if reasonable or necessary, data capturing can even be done by field training, what means that the user is able to enrich the intelligence of the software by his definition. Hence, the software can deal with unknown layouts by its adaptive, freeform approach. Once the rule set is put in place, it acts self-adaptive to completely new and unknown layouts. And this is what is called template free. Okay, having recognized the data, then it needs to be validated. This validation happens simultaneously to the data extraction and goes hand in hand with it. Yeah. So, for example, are the amounts within the items correct? Does the quantity multiplied with the unit price equal the total price? Is the total correct? Means does the net value plus additional charges equal the total? And does the total equal the sum of the line items? Yeah. Long story short, all data needs to be consistent, accurate, and normalized. Cross-checks, data integrity checks, and data consistency checks validate the data automatically. Thus, Iris Extract supports companies to identify commonly found discrepancies, such as the description of goods might be inconsistent, or the ports of loading and the destination maybe are not the same between the different documents. The quantities or dimensions differ between the documents, and many, many more. So let's get a look and feel on the software by moving into the live demo. Well, okay, so what you see is our cockpit and the cockpit of Iris Extract for documents, and there is a batch already processed. We will have a look at this in a second. What I have done here is I just imported one file, this PDF file here, and this PDF file exists of 4 pages, as we can see here. And these 4 pages are, the first 2 ones are a Seaway bill, followed by the next one, which is a commercial invoice, and finally a packing list. This is just a short example of a demo. I just want to illustrate for you some of the features I was speaking about. So let's have a look in the results. So first of all, what you can see is here on the left-hand side that the document indeed has chopped the one file. So we provided one PDF, but it has separated it automatically into 3 files. The first one existing of 2 pages, what you can see here as sheets. Yeah, and secondly, the software has now classified this document as a waybill. Yeah, it is green because we have configured this field in a way that it exactly stops here and requests a human intervention to confirm that this indeed is a waybill. If or if not that is necessary, it's just a question of configuration and can be done customly. Of course, the document number has been identified. It's the waybill number. There's the ocean vessel that has been found. There is the gross weight. And with regards to the gross weight, if I delete now this 2, so say the software has found not 26,000 but 6,000, it is immediately popping up with a message. And this message shows that there is a mismatch now to the same data given on the packing list. Yeah. So if I correct it, of course, this message disappears again. Another one I want to highlight besides all the others, I think you get the point here, is this one here, because that was once a special requirement by one of the prospects. The container type, that could be just one container, but it could also be several containers, was requested to be put in just one field because of his TMS system that he is using, his transport management system that he's using. And where do we get this information from? If I highlight it this way, you see here in these 3 lines, there is mentioned one 40 feet container, a second 40 feet container, and then a 20 feet container. And this is what the software took, interpreted it, and put it just into one field. Okay, let's move to the second document, which is the invoice. There is the invoice number. If I change here the invoice number, again, I get the information back, hey, this number should be the same as mentioned on the packing list, but it differs here right now. This is illustrated here. So if I add the 5 again back, we are fine again. Then we have the total amount. The total amount, if I just, for example, delete here and say we would have just found 928,000, it immediately says that is now an intrinsic mismatch, because if I look into the line items and sum up all the line items, it should be more than just 928. Yeah, so if I correct that again, we are fine again. And yeah, there are the line items themselves. I don't think I need to rush inside, but you see that that they have been picked up properly. So let's move to the last document inside, which is just the packing list. And if I look here and do the same vice versa, it now illustrates, hey, yeah, there's a mismatch to the invoice. Yeah? It should end up with a 5. And what we also see is here that the date, we could have seen that earlier on other documents as well. But anyway, you see here that the date is on the document completely differently written, but we have normalized. We have not only found the date, we have normalized it for further processing in the subsequent system. Well, okay. Let me get back to my slides. So as a summary, what you have seen was the separation, the classification, the data extraction, the validation, the consolidation, and the normalization. In total, we have processed here in one case just 32 data fields, yeah, and that in less than a couple of minutes. Yeah, but yes, including some explanation from my side that might help you to imagine what it means when we are in a production scenario where nobody is commenting on what you can see. They're just working on the results. So this is how data, what we're seeing is this is how data turns into structured information. It is prepared for further processing in the subsequent landscape, in the TMS, ERP, BPM, whatsoever, in order to take decisions or to run data analytics or in order to feed RPA systems. This is what we can call machine-aided process optimization. We, with implementing iris extract for documents, companies kick off their digital transformation journey. But just introducing a document understanding technology for process optimization is nice. It looks fancy, yeah, but it's indeed not a self-purpose. So what are the concrete benefits for a freight forwarder? So I want to illustrate a sample ROE case, again, based on information we received in conversations with a prospect. And the first things are just basic information that you can see here. We speak there about around about 500,000 documents per year, with an average of 10 documents per case, and an average of 20 minutes operating time on these documents in one case. But also we speak about 20 euros per hour, what it costs to do that manually. So additionally, the customer shared and reported two other basic figures. What means he said he's facing 3% exceptions. Exceptions just means errors, where some cases have been processed in the wrong manner. And that is then combined, based upon his estimations, to a 2.5 times higher cost to process or reprocess this false process. If we calculate that all together, that means he is in a manual situation facing 385,000 euros of process costs. When we now consider the introduction of the implementation of the software, it comes along with an investment. The investment is around about 120,000 euros. But as a result, we speak here about a 70% plus automation rate compared to the 100% manual before. And this then results into savings in the first year of 148,000 euros, and subsequently all the other years from the second year onwards, 220,000 euros. In a nutshell, there is a return of investment in less than 6 months. Well, I want to guide you also to our webpage, Iris Extract for Documents, iriscorporate.com. I'm still in the old thinking, sorry for that. iriscorporate.com, and within learn stories and customer stories. You can select transport and logistics and choose, for instance, the EDS story or any of the other stories, but the EDS story also illustrates good results on the return of investment. In total, what we can see here is a tremendous cost reduction by eliminating redundancies, etc., and repetitive tasks. We have a reduced turnaround time because the processing time is decreased by around about 50%, and we have an increased quality because it increases now to 99.1%, close to not 100, but close to 100, because of course we have still some manual work left. With the data available, we have improved the process transparency. With the, let's say, standardization in the software, we have created the chance to be flexible when it comes to changes and adaptations within the process landscape of that customer. And even more, by freeing the resources, we have given him the chance for business development. What means he can allocate the same number of resources now into other either valuable tasks on the one hand side, or even to do more cases with the same number of people. Okay, the objective of this webinar was to illustrate the transformation, the transformative impact of intelligent document processing on freight operations. Well, you have seen in a quick live demo how IDP supports the improvements, the importance of compliance in freight operations by identification of discrepancies, maybe the improvement of quality, the speed and accuracy of data capturing. In a nutshell, I want to say processing by the power of X. Processing by the power of extract. And this is what ensures that data is where it belongs, where it should be, it should be in your processes. Well, that's it from my side. I hand over back to Pierrick for the Q&A session. Pierrick.
Yes, thank you, Peter. We have indeed some questions. Let me get those. So one from Catherine. Can you elaborate on the process in detail?
Oh yeah, thank you. I indeed was thinking about to integrate that in this presentation. However, I did not do it by good reasons, and maybe we take also these questions offsite, not only here, but to answer it a little bit, there is not only one process. Well, it depends on the stakeholders that are using the software when it is introduced. And that may be the seller, that may be the shipper or the shippers, yeah, that may be the port, that may be the customs, that may be the buyer. And impact on that process also do have the Incoterms in a particular case, or the national regulations of the particular country when it comes to import or export. And on top of this, maybe there are, I mentioned that by the way, some particular requirements by the user and his general architecture, software architecture, his TMS system, his ERP system, or his process descriptions. Yeah. And also finally, even the payment method that is agreed between the different parties that can have impact on the process. Because if that is, for example, done by letter of credit, then even banks come into the game and they have completely different view on it. And they need to examine these documents, exactly these documents, by particular rules that are given out by the International Chamber of Commerce, and that is called UCP 600. That's stipulations how to examine these kind of documents from a point of view of a bank. Again, a completely different process. So there is unfortunately not one, but maybe we can discuss your particular one in some more details.
Okay, good. Thanks. Question from Liam. You mentioned an investment of 120,000 euro in the ROI calculation. Where does it come from?
Yeah, okay. So in this particular example, we needed to distinguish between the license on the one hand side that the customer is buying and the project on the other hand side to put everything in place. So the license here in this particular case is a subscription license because subscription licenses fit much better to the needs of the trade business and the forwarders, because their document volumes, they can change. It depends on the number of cases they are dealing with, the number of customers that they have, how much they are engaged or subcontracted to provide their services. So this group of customers indeed needs a certain kind of flexibility. On the other hand side, there are the project costs, and they consider the customization of the software along to the particular needs of that customer, but it also includes the cost that the customer has internally to allocate the resources for the project management. Well, as pointed out in the first question, the solution is fairly custom. It is very, very customized, and thus the implementation costs relate here in this specific example to the specific requirements of that customer.
Okay, good. Another question from Chris. How is intelligent document processing connected to data analytics?
Okay, yeah, I indeed tried somehow to mention that at some points. There is, you remember the huge number of documents in total on the one hand side, but in a case in particular, if we just look into one case, and if we then think about how many cases a customer might face, a user might face to be processed within a year, you can imagine that we speak about big data. And this big data somehow is hidden as long as it stays hidden in all these documents. Hence, a customized intelligent document processing solution might not only cover the extraction of the data to fulfill a particular process afterwards, Well, this already definitely delivers a lot of structured data that can be analyzed. But this IDP technology also can be used to get even more data out of this document that is maybe not immediately necessary for further processing. Yeah, and this data, which then, as mentioned and shown, is available structured, validated, consolidated, and normalized, can then enrich data analytics systems or RPA for other purposes. And one of those cases is indeed quite prominent. And this is, for instance, to identify fraud or money laundering cases.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Peter. We have more questions, but unfortunately, we don't have time to answer them all. But we will make sure that Peter will get in touch with you to answer those questions offline, directly with you. So Peter, if you can move to the next slide, actually just to confirm what I said at the beginning, that the replay or the recording of the webinar will be available on iriscorporate.com/webinars in a few moments. Also, of course, don't hesitate to contact Peter if you have any further questions, if you want a personal demo, a bespoke demo, if you want more information, if you have any comments to be made, please contact Peter. You have all the information on the screen here. And of course, on the website, you can also browse our webinar section to register to the next webinars that we have scheduled. With that, I would like to thank you, Peter, to thank all of you for attending this webinar. We hope you enjoyed it and you found it fruitful. And I wish you all a good day. See you next time.